All right, so welcome. I don't know, maybe we should just start from where we stopped the other day and use the same table we've been using to let me close some of this stuff. So we should use the same table we've been using, which is the one we created for ourselves the other day. And okay. So let's start from there. I'm coming then. So the other day we were able to establish that concept of relationship and create our table from a distance. I would like us to still use that table. But today we said we are going to go straight into selecting from our data and doing other stuff. So that table was this. I think it was an illustration. So let me just expand it. We had two tables, and I would like to add more data to this order. Already we have some data in users. We can just have more data in orders, so that so someone should just help me, guide me on how to add data to others. So I can say select asterisk from others. So we see how it looks. I think this should go. Awesome. Others. Okay, it was S. This should be fine. So let's add more data to it. How do I go about it?
You can use insert. You can use insert to.
So insert into
Name of the table.
others. Then what next?
A comma. You open a bracket, then you can give space. You can start a new line.
Okay. So you're saying this.
Insert into others. Yes.
So what's doing that then? I just want us to have more data, so do some stuffs with that.
Then we put the names of the columns which we want to insert data into.
So like one of the columns should be, do I have other ID or user ID, comma?
First name.
No, look at the table here. I had wanted us to just,
Status.
I had, so, so status,
An amount.
amount.
Then values.
Values. I wanted you guys to do this for me.
Then single quote.
Okay, single quote.
Then you can put any user ID. Are you going to put any data for user ID? Did you not set it as autofill?
No.
No, I don't
No, we
think you
already.
said
You
it
need
for
to. It has to do with the user table. So it depends on what we have on the user table. So if you have not, if you have created 7 on user table, so we can now start from 7.
Yeah, okay, let me do this. Select from users. So we are going to have 2 resource sets for this. Just for, I just want us to see the nature of the 2 tables. Control Shift. So here we have others, we have users. So from these 2 now, I want to insert into others, knowing too well that user ID is exactly the same thing as this user ID. So let's add. We want to add. Am I supposed to add other
No, no.
ID or okay?
I
So
think we
other
need
ID.
to add one row to the user ID before we can insert anything on the other ID.
Okay. Why do you think so, sir?
Because the relationship between them, because that one is primary key in a user table. So and that is what we is a foreign key on a other table.
Okay. Now I didn't get that right. Let me. Okay, let's do a refresher. We know whatever we have in the other table. Whenever we come to user ID, is going to come from this user ID. So you're saying we need to add one more stuff to users in order to add user ID. Hello? So for users, we already have 6 users on board, right?
Yes, yes.
We already have 6 users on board, and we said any user can order as many times as
Oh, yeah, yeah.
want to add to others. And we have selected user ID, order ID, status, and the total amounts. That means we should just be picking from this user ID. We don't necessarily need to add more, but we can add more if we wish. So we can just say the order number, user number 6. I don't know, should I use single quotes or double quote, or I should just write 6 here for user number 6?
6.
Single
I should just
quotes.
write,
No,
okay,
no
single quote.
quotes.
Okay, 6. Why am I using 6 instead of single quote
Be-
6?
Because the column is an integer.
Yeah,
That's
because the column is
the
yeah. So if the column is an integer, we don't need to use a double or single
The-
quote.
Okay.
Yeah. So next we do is that we have user ID. We are saying user number. Let me even remove this. We know we say the other dates. The way we define our other dates, it can pick values from exactly
get
when we are
date.
doing this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we do, we have user number 6. What's the status for his this thing? We can say the status is what do we use? We can use cancel, right?
Cancel now.
So this
You need to put
cancel,
it
is
in
it going to,
quotes.
so I put it in quotes, single
Yeah,
quotes,
single
cancel.
quotes.
Yeah, so I have single quotes, cancel. Then total amounts, we can just say the person bought a
Cancelled,
good.
cancelled. There
Okay,
you
yeah, yeah, yeah.
see.
Yeah, thank you. This way, right?
Yeah.
So we can now say that user bought goods worth of 14,000. Let's say 14,000, 50 kobo. This is still valid. Then we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
But why is this giving us okay, this should be
Because of the
values.
space.
I think it's because of the values. So with this now, we can insert into someone's mic is noisy. So doing this should add to our table, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So how about let's do another transaction. So maybe he has another one that is shipped, be shipping. I can't remember exactly. I think it was shipped. And we have this at 14 or 13,500. I don't know if we still remember what we are doing.
Yes, we are getting you, sir.
So now let's just help me in doing this. I want to be sure we know what we are doing. We remember what we are doing. So we can have which other this thing did I specify? We have shipping.
Delivered.
Okay, delivered. So this other one can be 9,500. Which other? We have the council pending. Okay, pending.
This. Yeah. Mhm.
600. So use that 4. Adds 400 naira. So I just want to insert some random values there so that we can say is a 3 and 1,000. All right, so now if we select from others, right, we now have more data. So today, what I wanted us to discuss is how to pick from the databases. If you want to pick from databases, we can most times, like selecting everything from a database might look beautiful, like it's giving us an overview of what we have. But then if you look at it, it's not really informative. It's just like we pulling out all of our data. So let's assume we want to know, how do I not complicate things? So let's assume the select asterisk I'm doing, what it does is it selects all the table, all the row, all the columns from our table and output it. So whenever you see select star, what it means is select everything in the order it has come. So instead of doing that, like if we want to select everything, we can, let me do something like, let me go, it's on the order. If you do this, if you want this to select for you, you can just do select top 1,000 rows, even if we don't have up to 1,000 rows. So what it does is exactly the same thing we have. Let me just have, and I have select asterisk from the same orders. So what these two achieve is exactly the same results. So what I just wanted to show is that this is a nickname. This asterisk or star is a nickname for everything. I don't know if we got that. Instead of saying select, because in our select statements, we can just say select, our table is a user. Okay, we are on others, right? Let me see what we have in others. Yes, our other tables. Okay, so we can say column. So we can just say select order ID.
Listen.
If you want this to give you intelligence, you can just come and say from order others.
Man, Alison. Where
So this is going. Sorry, someone is select order ID, user ID, order date, status, and total amount. So when we do this, if we do this, this is exactly going to give us that select asterisk. So instead of writing select asterisk, that stuff is just a shortcut for us to, I don't know, the class is kind of quiet. I don't know if we are following what we are doing. So instead of doing select everything, let's say we have a database, we have a table with a very large, up to it's something like columns. Instead of selecting one after the other, we can just say select star from others. So what this star means is just select everything. Whenever you see select star, it means select everything from the table. So looking at it, we want to discuss the select statement. So the select statement goes this way: select followed by the tables, the columns we want to select. Then from tells us the table we are going to pick. We are basically in illustration. Illustration is a database. So inside illustration, if we say select, from is going to tell us inside illustration, at least we have two tables. So when we say select in illustration, that select is going to answer the question. I mean, this from is going to tell us exactly which of the table we are targeting. I don't know if we are getting what we are doing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are alone.
We are getting it, so
Okay. So what from does is tell us the table we are targeting. So if we say select other ID, you see we created all these columns. Select other ID, user ID, other date, status, and the total amount. Is the same thing as saying select asterisk. But how about we want to reorder this table? Maybe I want to have other ID, user ID, then status before this thing. So if we want to reorder it, that asterisk doesn't do the job again. So if we want to reorder it, we still do the same thing we did. Select maybe other ID. Let me tip it. This is the way I tip. Once I say from, it gives me IntelliSense. IntelliSense is just if I start typing anything, it suggests what I'm possibly. So from others, sorry, from others, no, from others. So from others, once I type this from others and I say select other, you see, it's trying to select other ID. It's trying to predict what I'm trying to say. Select other ID, user ID, then let's say total amounts. You see, in this other case, we are no longer following the order we defined our distance. So this is still valid, but in this case, we have reordered that table. So that asterisk only works if we want to get everything in our table in the order that we are defined. Let me execute these two together so that I will get two result sets. So these two result sets, you see, the second one gives us other ID, user ID, total amounts, then status. That's what we have from the second one. You see, it's now reordered. It's no longer the way it used to be. And of course, in this other one, we did not include words. We did not include dates, our other dates. So if you want to pull everything from your database or from your table, you either list all the elements we have in the database, or you just use asterisk. Asterisk will get all the columns. So I think I have an example from that our big database. So today we are just discussing, sorry, I did not start the right way. Today we are just discussing the select statements, column expression, and some common operators. And our objective is just to explore the select statement, then understand column expression, talk about a few operators, and introduce some functions. So selecting all column is exactly what we are trying to explain. We use select asterisk from table name. So asterisk is more like select everything from, then table name. This from, what comes after from, is the table we are targeting. So as we advance, we'll start selecting from more than one tables, depending on if they are related or not. So asterisk selects everything. You can also alternatively list everything just the way we listed it. You can list everything if you have the spend ball. That's just a shortcut. So let's say, for instance, I think I have an example table. Let's say, for instance, we go over to this our big database, the one that our venture works, and if we want to use that, let me look for one that is large. We can go to production. Let me see. I just uh, I got I brought out an example for that. Mhm. So this was which table? Sales.sales header. So let's say we select everything from sales.sales header. This was on sales. You know why select asterisk from sales dot sales dot sales header? You know why all those ones are now red? So with this now, If we do this, look at how many rows we are going to get. We have plenty rows. We might not need all these rows. So assuming you want to list everything in this, maybe you want to select everything and you start writing set order, revision number, this. There's every likelihood you're going to make mistakes. So the shortcut is always to use this asterisk. Once you do asterisk, select asterisk, you can always break into the next line. And we are going to talk about this formatting. So once you do asterisk, it's going to pull up all the columns. Do we all understand what I'm trying to do here?
Yeah, I'm on board. I don't know about the others, but I'm on board.
Yeah. I mean others.
I'm understanding.
Now continue.
How about, okay, so I should go on. So whenever we want to pull everything, we just say select asterisk. But if you want to pull, let's say we are interested in some fields, we can now say, oh yeah, select other dates, ship date, status. Let's just say want to know, like want to find out when this person made this order and when it was shipped, maybe to see the time lapse between the order date and the shipping date. We can just say select what? Select uh sales order ID, comma, order dates, comma, ship dates. From sales order header. So once you get these informations, I'm getting some errors. Sales order header.
Dot.
Where?
Between sales, the sales order stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So we should have sales order. All right, so let me take it from here.
Sales. S.
Okay, let me just take it from
Yeah.
here. So we are just interested in picking maybe want to check for maybe the time lapse between when an order was made and when it was shipped. We can just pick those this and now make our comparison. So from this, we are seeing that the date this was ordered is on 31st May 2011 and it was shipped 7th May 2011. So I don't know if we have seen how we can pull out just the data that interests us from a table. Not likely pulling everything because everything might be overwhelming. We might not really need everything. So with this now, we can export to Excel or wherever we want to make our analysis. We can as well do what? Invent our own table. We can say this and say ship dates minus other dates as time lapse. Okay, let's say time. I hope time lapse is the correct word for this. Like I want to see the delay between when this was ordered and when it was delivered. So we can run this kind of query and now see that this is not giving me what I wanted. I didn't want to get them as this. And I don't want to go into, because we are going to convert this, we are supposed to convert this to int, but I don't want to do that because we've not talked about this thing. So what this does, you see, we've invented our own table, our own column that was not there. And this column is just doing what? Trying to check the delay Let me do this. I'm supposed to convert this to. All right. So now, so what we've tried to do is what we've learned how to select all columns.
Can
We've
you
also
go over
learned how.
the last command?
Okay, I'm coming to that. Okay. The last command says ship date minus other dates as a. Let's don't worry. We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it.
Okay,
Let's
okay.
just follow this one sequentially. So basically, we've learned how to select everything from a table, like all the tables. So we just do select asterisk from table name. Example is select asterisk from production.product. So you can run this, it will run on that your database. That's the what's it, adventure works. If you run this, it's going to be valid. So what that does, that asterisk is just selecting all the columns from a table. Doing this will give us all the tables from a column. For instance, I tried it before in the class. So what this is doing, this from, the job of this from is pointing us to the table we are interested in. Why is this not going? Now, if we want to select some tables, some dedicated tables, we just name those columns, not tables. Like we just name those columns that we are interested in. Like in this case, we saw when we selected asterisk from sales orders, how many tables, how many columns it returned. It returned so much columns that I don't. There are many of them, but we might not be interested. Like when you get to a database, you might not be interested in all those columns. So you just pick the ones you're interested in. So that's when it comes to selecting specific columns from a database. So to select a specific columns from a database, we simply name those columns. Like in this case, we named sales orders, ID, order dates, and ship dates. Let's leave this for now. We'll get to it when we get to column expression. So doing this, you only pick out, it's just like select, it's just like pick out this column, this column, this column. That's what I'm interested in. So with that, it returns a fewer column sets. We now have like how many columns? 3 columns, because we specified just 3 columns from the table. So if I may ask, what's the function of from? How does from function? How does it work? Hello?
I think it acts as the command that bring out exactly what we want from the table.
Yeah. So what it does is to point us to the table of interest. Then what the select does is to pick out the columns we need. I don't know if we get that. What select
Yes,
does
yes.
is to pick out the columns we're interested in. I don't know, so many persons are having their mic on today. Let's just try and put them on mute if we want to be communicating with others so that we don't distract others. So what the select does is to pick out the columns we want. The from do what from does is to tell us the table we are interested in. Like in the case of this our big database, you see we have a lot of tables there. So if you come in and just say select this, select this, select this, maybe select order ID, user ID, total amounts, and status. Okay, let's say like this. So it wouldn't know where exactly you want it to go and select those stuff from. The from tells it to go to so place and pick them. So we move over to we've done selecting all columns. We understand everything about selecting all columns. That's very simple. selecting specific column. So with that now, let me ask us. I'm interested in, let me just open a database. I want to select everything. I'm interested in picking, nope. I want someone to help me. I'm interested in this, let's say, let me try this person. I don't know what's there. So in these persons, I'm interested in getting the person's first name, the person's middle name, last name, his title, and business ID. So who can tell me how to write a query that will do that for me? I'm interested in column number 1, his first name, his middle name, his last name. Or I want to get for every
My
business
background is
entity.
noisy, so I can't. I'm not open my mic. Maybe others can. Yes.
Okay, so for others, like, how do we do that? This is the table.
Okay,
At least you can.
you can
Okay,
go here. Select.
select. Yeah.
Business.
Then you give you. I think you put the name of the table.
Okay,
No,
I should put
the
the name of the
column.
table.
The name of the
Okay, the
column.
Yes.
column. Yeah. So what's the columns now? Just name. I said I need business entity
Business
ID.
entity.
So business entity ID.
ID.
Okay. I need first name. I need the
Middle name.
middle name, and I need
Comma.
last name.
Last name.
Yeah. So when you look at this still giving us error. Why? Because it doesn't know where to pick those stuff from. So the moment we add from, remember you can write everything in a single line, but because we don't want to get confused, or because we just want, because if we keep writing our statements on a single line, it keeps going until we are not able to see. So what you do now, the from does what? What does the from do?
From
It shows you
persons.
exactly where to get it. So from
So
persons dot persons.
so from person dot person. So this exactly tells us the table. You see, the moment we tell it the table to pick it from, all those our squiggly red lines go, because we have already told it where to. It now understands what we are asking it for.
Then you can
So
run it.
we can run this, and we have just those this thing. So now we've seen that we can run everything on the same line, but we have some challenges, which is we always need to scroll and scroll. So that's not convenient for us. How do we solve that? We apply what is called formatting. So as long as you we can do this and get away with it. Doing this still gives us the correct results. Even doing this gives us the correct result. But when we continue with querying, like as we expand our querying, we find out that we start writing more than up to 10 lines or even more, and even up to 20 and more. So it becomes important for us to format our code very well. Now, in a select statement, we have in a select statement, we have the major clauses. So one of the major clauses, we have select, we have from, we have select from, we have where, then we have group by, we have order by. So these are the major clauses that make up a select statement. Each of them can be expanded. We have some other minor clauses that can come in as we progress with our learning. We'll soon start adding some extra clauses. But the basic one that form a select statement is select, from, where, group by, and the order by. So now, looking at them, what you can always do to format your distance is what allow these major clauses to stand at the beginning of the line. Then you indent others. So I used to indent twice. So with this now, it's very convenient for us to say that select, this is all that belongs to select. So we are selecting this column, we are selecting this column, these 4 columns. So it's clear to us how many columns are going to appear. Unlike when we had everything lumped together, maybe on the same line or scattered anyhow. So it's now clearer to us. If we want to, assuming we want to do like in future, we are going to be doing join. I also like to indent and include my join. So everything that belongs to from lives within the same level of indentation. So anyone looking at it will know that inside the from, this is what we are doing, this is what we are doing, because maybe by next class, we'll start picking from 2 different tables. So the next thing is where. So let me use this opportunity to explain to us how all of these work and what each of them function as. So like we said, select do what tells us all the columns we want. Like in this case, we are only interested in 4 columns. So our select will return 4 columns, each corresponding to the. We don't want the way it appears in the database. We don't want it that way. We can bring this middle name first. So if we do this, if we bring this first and this last, running that query will reorder our database and give us the results the way we specify them. So you see, middle name now comes first before first name. So the order with which you specify those columns is the order is going to appear in your result set. So that's that. Now, when we come to selecting let's say column expression. Column expression, this this thing might not, because it was around before I started trying to conjure them, like add them together. I was busy. So if my uh, expression is when we want to add or form something from our columns. Like in the case of our first name, last name, and the other name, we can decide to just call it name. So how do we do that? To call it name, we just do what? We can say select business ID. Then this, remember, we used to separate each of them with comma. So when we now don't, if we now decide not to separate them with comma and do plus, if we do plus, then we are going to, let me just do plus and show you the result we are going to get, so that when I do the other one I want to do, you see the reasons why I'm doing. So in this case now, we want to, okay, we want to say we need our, we want to say we need our, we want to say we need business ID, then first name plus last name plus, other name. So we can just say this to, as, sorry. So if we do this, you can say first name plus last name plus middle name. We want all of them to be joined together. We don't want them to appear in different columns. So this is going to give us some results, but I'll do this and you see why I'm going to do the other one. So in this case, we have you see, this name is not making any sense. We have Catherine, Abe, R, we have no, we have this. So in order to solve that problem, we are going to bring in a space, a white space. So we are going to do what? Plus. Nope, that's our white space. We just give a, so what I'm adding there is what? Just a space bar. So in this case, we are going to also add a space bar. Do you understand why I did what I did? And do you understand why I did what I did? Hello?
No.
Okay. You understand how to select everything. You understand how to select some specific columns, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you want to form, when we talk of column expressions, what we mean is getting a column that doesn't exist in the database. Either we form it from some informations we have in the database, or we form it from whatever we want to form it from. So in this case, we are trying to say, give me the first name, then plus space. Remember, whenever we use single quotes, what we are referring is to a string of characters. What we are referring to is a string of characters. So whenever we use a single quote, we are referring to a string of characters. But if we give a single quote without putting anything there, it's just a string there, but nothing is there. So if we want that space, so we have first name plus space, that little space that is supposed to exist. You know, when I did it the first time, we just had everything strange together. We're not having this Saeed, Abbas, E. We're not having Catherine, space, Ebe, space R. We just had everything lumped together, right?
Yes.
So feeding it this small, putting this small space is giving it that space. I don't know if you get it.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Yeah. Or joining together strange. But something happens when we do that. You see, for anywhere we have a null value, everything gets converted to null. Whenever we have a null value, everything gets converted to null. Like in the case of this Saeed Abbas, we have values because nothing is null. But whenever we have a null value for the middle name, and another stuff we observe column name. This one is business ID, like the heading. Column name is just the heading. So we have business entity ID for the heading. But for this, we don't have any column name for it. So to fix this of the problem of column names, we can use a keyword called as. So once we say as, we can just say name. So what we are saying is the whole of this expression, call them words name. Let me expand so we see what we are doing. The whole of this expression, call them name. So when I run this no column name turns towards name. You see, we have name here. I know we have questions. I know we have questions. We have questions. I know. Do we get what we are doing?
No, question is different.
All right. Do we understand how to select column names?
No.
All right. You were not in the last class.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say anything. I know that I'm lost already.
Yeah. Okay, you can still be saying things. So now let's do this. We know that doing this individually will give us how many columns are we expecting from this?
1, 2, 3,
4 columns.
4,
So we are expecting 4 columns.
5.
Yeah. Okay, 5 columns. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4. Remember, this from is not part of the columns. What from does is to tell us the table we are picking it from. From is telling us the table we are going to pick from. Select is telling us the columns we want to pick. Do we get it?
Yes.
So we have 4 columns. Yeah, we have 4 columns. What from does is tell us which table we want to pick it from. Then this other one, where we are listing, we are simply listing things here. We can list them as 1, 2, 3, 4. So it appears the way it's going to appear. We have 4 columns here that we are picking from where? Where are we picking the columns from? The from tells us where we are picking them from. Pick business entity ID, first name, last name, middle name, from where? Person. I think this is a bit intuitive, like the naming is good. Do we get this?
Yes.
Do we all get what we've done to arrive at this? Let's just talk. There's no point rushing it. Like if I decide to rush and we do many things, get into functions, do all of those, and you're not getting it, then it's a wasted time. Like we've wasted both your time and my time. So it's better we get it right. Like ask your questions. It's not like when I ask for questions, you two are not talking. If you don't talk, it means I should carry on. And as we carry on, things we are going to be doing, we still build on this. All of them, they build on each other. We get how we got this, right?
Yes.
I'm only hearing there's always two voices saying yes. All right, let me just. You see? Now look at it this way. Select tells us the columns to get from tells us the tables to get them from. Don't know. Okay, let's leave where for now. Let's just talk about these two. Select tells us the columns to get. So which are the columns we are interested in? That is what select does. From tells us the table we are going to get them. Like I explained, if you look at this database, we know that a database is composed of tables and relationship, right? So getting into this table, we are working on AdventureWorks 2022, right? If we get into AdventureWorks, we have plenty tables, each composing of many columns. So it doesn't make sense for me to come and say select. If I say pick, I've cleaned them. If I say pick person type, I think there's something like person type. If I ask you, let's assume now we have a record or we have a record book or a register, and I say go and pick person type, right? I'm asking you to go and pick person type. I think that was what I saw up there. If I ask you to go and pick person type, name style, let's assume you don't know where I'm asking you to pick them, and maybe demographics, demography. So if I ask you to go and pick person type, demographic from this database, it's a bit confusing. You don't know where to go, right? Are we following what we are doing?
Yes.
Yes.
So getting to this database, which is full of so many tables, each with columns and rows, if I ask you to pick person type, name type, demographic, what question are you likely to ask me?
Yeah.
What
The
are,
question is, from which of the tables are you picking from?
so you are going to ask me from where? So that is what from do. From will now tell us, now I've asked you, go and pick person type, name style, and demography. You ask me from where now? I will say, oh yeah, go and pick them from where? Persons. So telling you to go and pick it from person, uh, tells you exactly where to pick. You see, the moment we say person, I think I misspelled this demography. I got it wrong. There's no demographic there. So. Okay, demographics. So once I tell you the name of the table I want. You see, this is now not complaint. All those complaints are gone because I've specified where it's going to pick those columns. I've also specified the columns where it's picking them from. So running this, this thing gives us exactly what we need. So what our select does is tell it what are the columns you're interested in. The from tells it right within that our database, go into so table. So we are going to the table called person.person. I told you all these prefix, production, whatever is just called schema. That's just a way of organizing related tables into a particular namespace, which is just a schema. So if I say select this, you're going to go to where we have persons and look for it. Do you understand how this select statements work? At least these two clauses.
Yes.
You all need to understand this because we are going to build on this. We are going to build on this. Do we all understand? If you don't have a question, don't keep mute because only a few persons are saying yes.
So, sir, maybe you should ask who is not, who does not understand. Then we can take it from there. Because that means
Who
everybody
does
will
not
need to be meeting. Exactly. Thank you, sir.
who does not understand and where don't you understand?
Please, if you can just explain a little bit more.
All right. Let's interpret what is written here, literally. Select tells us the columns. Are you having problem with understanding where like what is called columns? You understand what a column is, right?
Yes.
So what are columns, if I may ask? If you missed our previous class, it would have paid if you went through those videos because by His grace, we have videos that explain these stuffs. If you miss a class, just go through the videos because each of them they are building on each other. Like our next lesson is going to build on what we are discussing today.
I've done that already.
You've gone through like completely through what we did last time.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, our select, look at what is called columns. All these ones running vertically are columns. So, if we select asterisk, let's say I have this and I say asterisk. If I say asterisk in this case, why is this not succeeding? If I say asterisk, if I select everything here, do you understand why I did what I did and it's still valid? The person that was asking, just go through our previous videos. So if I select everything, selecting asterisk, let me hide it. Selecting asterisk means select everything like we just said today. Select everything from this table. If I select everything from this table and run this, we are going to have all the columns. All of this we are having is all the columns. So select says pick, filter out. I'm interested in how many, just a few columns. So in this case, we are just picking. Here we have person.person type. We just listed all the columns here and there are too many, but we are not interested in all of them. So I'm asking you to just go and select person type, name style, and demographics, and we have them in that table, from that table. So what it will do is it will ignore every other column. All these other middle name, whatever suffix, email, promotion, and the rest of them is ignored. It's just picking those ones that we specified. And that's why we have the result. So the ones running vertically are called columns, while the ones running horizontally are called rows. We should have gone beyond this and be able to do some interesting things. So I don't know how many persons understand.
Okay. Now I understand.
I
Okay, now
understand.
you understand.
Hold on.
Yeah. So
Mm.
select asterisk means select everything. You can list all the columns and also tell it where it's selecting from. Please, you can go over those videos and ask your questions on the group so that we trash them before we get to a class. As it stands, you guys are placing a break on the class. So this is what we get. Just selecting a few of them. Now, I'm now worried. I don't know. If you want to select column expressions, that means we want to join 2 or 3 columns or want to get something from our column and form maybe just a single column, like what I did before. What I did before, let me do Control Z many times. What I did before, I told you, for the sake of making this thing look good, we can always keep everything that belongs to select. We already know that select tells us the columns we are interested in, and from tells us the table we are going to pick those things. So we can always keep all the things that are related to select inside a select indentation. This would kind of confuse us. We might not know what we are doing. If you have something that looks like this, it might confuse us. Maybe you won't know exactly this valid. It's a valid statement. It's still going to return the same result set, but it doesn't help us. So in order to help us format very well, we can just say this should look like this. Everything that belongs to from should be indented into from. Everything that belongs to this is better, but we can do better by doing this. So it's a bit explanatory. We know we are expecting 4 columns, and those 4 columns are coming from this table. So this helps. Do you understand how I transformed the other table that was looking like that into this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now that you understand this, how about we are not interested in having all these columns? We just want to, because we know first name, last name, and middle name is equivalent to someone's name. So how about we just say, instead of listing all these things, just tell us the person's name. So to form the person's name, we have to join the person's, maybe here in Nigeria, we like saying last name, first name, then middle name, right? That's the way we order names. In other places, some people don't even have up to middle name. They only have 2 names. So we can just say we are interested in just the person's, we can just be interested in maybe first name and last name. So we can say first name plus last name. This gives us, let's do this first before I include that as. If we do this now, okay, because of this last command, if we do this now, how many columns are we? You see, we are joining this first name and last name to get 1 column. We only have a column when we specify a comma. So because there's no comma between this, what I'm doing is I'm saying first name plus last name equals full name, right?
Yeah.
So running this will give us the person's full name. Let's run this. We get the person's full name, but it's giving us as no name. So now to rename a column, even for this one, even if renaming a column, even if it's not when you perform a column operation, if you want to rename this business entity ID, we can just say as. So from the moment we say as, the name of that column ceases to be what it is. It now becomes whatever we give it. So we are going to use double quotes in this case. We can say business entity ID, or we can just say identity in full. Identity. I mentioned this last time in our last class. Naming convention. I know I mentioned this. So if we do this, we have renamed business entity into business entity ID. Maybe because you want to export to stakeholders and stakeholders don't know how to write SQL. You know, like I told you, we have to get used to writing this way. But if you want to export to outside world, you make it look friendly to them. So if I execute this, I'm going to have business entity ID. See, I've renamed this. This is no longer appearing as business entity ID. It's now appearing as business space entity space ID. The same thing we did when we did this. This column now gave us what? All the names stranged together without spaces. If we want to create spaces, we are going to manually introduce our space by saying, I told you a string or characters are composed of just this single quote. But remember, characters also include space. So I'm going to hit on that space bar. If I hit space bar, it means I want a space between them. So these characters is not just we have visible characters and some that are just there. They will give us the feeling. Something like spacebar gives us the feeling of something. So here we now have first name. Look at we have the Said. I don't even know Catherine, Eber, whatever, but we are not differentiating them. But now we have inserted a white space between them. So for because of this white space, we are going to now have what? Our result set is now going to give us that.
So can't you name it as something instead of a no column name of this name?
Yeah, we are going to name it as something, but I just want you to get the other stuff. So we can just name it as name. Naming it as name, we can still use double quotes. Nothing is wrong. But double quotes is mostly used when you want to overcome that constraint. I told you if you do spacing, it's going to give you an error. Last class, I said that. But if you want to overcome that restriction, you just use double quotes. So in this case, it's still going to give us the same results. But if we remove that double quote, it still gives us the same results. There's another way SQL Server does it. I don't want us to be doing that because it will get you in trouble when you get to other databases. Do we get this? If we get this, maybe we can do more examples around this, and let's get this. Do we get this now?
Get it, sir.
How about the ladies? Do we all get this? I don't know how many persons are on board. Okay, if we say we get it, the last person that said we got it. Help
Hello,
me.
sorry,
I
before
want
you
to.
continue.
Okay.
What is the essence of the plus we have in before the space and after the space? After first name and before last name.
All right. Think of it literally as what it is. If I say my name is Mike and I say my last name is Oko and I say Mike plus Oko, how can you pronounce it?
Mike.
Hello?
Mike.
Yeah, if I say Mike plus Oko, how can you pronounce it?
Mike Oko.
So it becomes Mike Oko, right?
Yes, yes.
So we are saying Said, I think this is Said plus Abba. It gives us Said, Abba. Catherine Eber, if we are saying Catherine plus Eber is going to give us Catherine Eber, right? But we are forgetting there is a white space here. So if we want to do this arithmetic, we are supposed to say Catherine plus white space plus Eber to give us this. I don't know if that explains it.
Yes, what I'm saying is now it should be, I think it should be first name plus the space, then last name instead of the second plus. I'm concerned about the second plus you added before the last name.
Yeah. Okay. So doing this now, it says first name plus. You see, we don't know whether it's a multiplication, though multiplication is not valid in this case, or an exponentiation or whatever. The relation, what relates this space and this last name is what we don't know now. So if we run this, it's going to give us it is. So let's think of it this way. If you have three names, let's just say other names here. I don't know if it was middle name. So if you want to say first name plus middle name, I think it was middle name. Middle name. Are we going to, you see, first name plus middle name and we want the last name? Are we not going to do a plus there?
Yes, yes, yes.
So now think of this middle name now as a white space because we are not interested if we do the middle name. You see why we are having three pluses? In this case, it's going to give us the three names, right? but all of them stringed together. So we have Catherine R. Abel, right? So what if we are not interested in this middle name? We are just interested in white space. You now see why we need that. Remember, it's not quote, it's quote space. If we want to have more space, we can say put plenty space. And when we run this, it will always fit that number of white space. You see, the space is now more. Do you see why we have the second plus? We can still go ahead. I don't want us to go into conditional case statements. We can still go ahead and say we want this person to be Mr. Let's just say Mr. for now. I don't want us to go into, I know some of them are ladies, right? But I don't want to bring more confusion. So if we want to say Mr., or we can say Mr. or Mrs. I don't know if this is the right way. We can say Mr. or Mrs. in this case. There's a way to format it so that if you're a guy, it will say Mr. If you're not a guy, it will say Mrs., right? But let's not go there. It will still confuse us. So if I want to say Mr., maybe I want to give them title. You see, this says Mr. This. So we still need a space between them. You see how it's formatting? It's not formatting them well. So we need to put spaces in between. To put that space, we have this plus. So we still need spaces around this. We are going to do this. I wish you get all of this. I wanted to introduce everything about select statement today so that by our next class, we start doing proper analysis with them. So you see, this is saying Mr. or Mrs. Said Abbas, Mr. or Mrs. Catherine Ebe, Mr. or Mrs. Kim. We are simply inventing we are adding things to them. So this is called column expression. We are going to go into how to handle there are some functions we use to handle now. Something like is not leave. Those are names of functions that help us format very well. We are going to go into casting. That's turning something from a data type to other types. And we are still going to go into making senses, other senses with. But let's get this first. Are we fine with what I'm doing? All of us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I should write on.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If I have your permission to go on, I have to introduce another clause. And that clause says where. So this clause is brought in. What it does is to filter out some rows to only where a condition is met. So we can just say where condition underscore met. Do we get the other one before I add this to it?
We are good.
Where some conditions are met. Now, this must follow the order we are listing it. All we are doing must follow this order we are. Like we
Is there no
can't have
situation where you interchange the command or
no, you
the
don't.
order must?
Yeah, the other must.
Okay.
If you interchange, then you have error. These basic clauses, I'm not saying the columns we are picking. If you bring where before from, yeah, it will give you an error. So just think of it as select from where group and the order. You can't change them for SQL. It will give you an error. So this where gives us some this. Let's go back to our table. Let's go back to the one we created. I think we are more familiar with this thing we created. So in this case, we are going to let me collapse this. This might be big for us. It might be daunting. So one of the jobs we are going to be doing as a data analyst is to do exploration. Exploration is just getting used to the database you'll be querying. So we are going to select here. I want us to go back to our query. So select. So how do I select everything from our orders? Someone should tell me how to do that.
Select X.
Asterix.
select asterisk or star from others. And you can do this the way I've told you to be doing things. But you know, when you're doing all of this, you should just use your brain. Like if it's not too large, this is no longer beautiful the way I've written it. It doesn't make sense again. I don't even know why this is giving me. We have others now. Why is it giving me? Okay, because of this. This is the reason it's giving me that. It's thinking all of this. Okay, so we can do something like this and run it. So, you know, this is not as beautiful as we having all of this on the same line, right? So it's just a matter of your sense of aesthetics. This looks beautiful. This does not. So not in all cases will you follow. You're not going to follow that. So doing this will give us everything from our others. How do I select some other person, another person? How do I select everything from? How do I select everything from our users? So this will
Yes.
give me the two tables. Yeah. Now I want to introduce the concept of where. So that concept of where we are saying select tells us where the rows, the columns to select, from tells us where to select them. So we are going to say select asterisk from users, or let me just say others. We want to use others. Select asterisk from others. Where I told you where talks about where a condition is met. I can say where status is equals. So what are the values we had for status? Where status is equals pending. So we want to see how many pending transactions we have. So what this we do is what? What do we think this is going to do? So this is the condition. Like I told you, where talks about condition. This is the clause and this is the condition. So it's going to only give return values rows where only rows where this condition is met. So when it comes to row number one, it's not going to return it because status is not what?
Also, in the command, is the parentheses not necessary? I mean, the bracket open and close.
It's not necessary if you know what you're doing, but over time it becomes necessary. When you start doing like we only have one conditioner. If you start having many conditions, maybe and or, maybe two and or, you now start applying the principle of what we did like board mass in school. And is going to serve us as plus, and I mean, or is going to serve us as plus, then and is going to serve as multiplication. But when we get to that, we do it. So when it gets to that kind of distance, that's where we talk of associativity, and when we are talking about distribution and associativity. But let's not go there now. We now start bringing this parentheses to class to group commands together. Because if you write, there's a way you write a command, it will give you what you don't intend. But for now, let's not go. Let's just introduce this concept of where. So what where does, remember we have three clauses here, select, from, and where. So what where does is to filter out. In fact, when you're talking about filters, some of you that have done Excel, you do filter. So what filter does is exactly what where do. You understand? So this where is going to filter only where we have results that are pending. Running this, it give us, it will run through. So you see pending, pending, pending. Select tells us the columns we need. From tells us the table we are going to pick it from. Where gives us a condition. So anything that doesn't pass this condition is not worthy of being returned. We can also say, do we get this before? Do we get this?
Yes.
We
Yes,
can
sir.
say How about I want all the places where total amount is less than 500? How do I do that?
Select. Select from others where bracket open.
No,
The
you don't
total
meet
amount.
all these
Total amount.
where
Total amount, okay.
Less
Less than
500.00.
So this will give us all the values. So we only have one. When we are adding randomly, I think there was a place we added 100 now. So it's going to return that we only have, it's going to return those rows. We are not counting them yet. We'll soon start counting them. So what we achieves for us is to filter out only to filter out all those rows where a specified condition is met. This disappears. I'm looking for it. Someone is talking in the background. Who is that person? Are we still following what we are doing? So how about
Yeah, it's correct.
Okay, someone wanted to ask a question. So what if I want only the values, where only the rows where other amount? Maybe we want to give people that bought things that are worth up to 1,000 some bonus. So how do we do that? I want to only filter those people that bought with total amounts greater or equal to 1,000 so that we can give them some bonus, or so that we can send them some messages to tell them that we like their patronage.
is it 1,000 and above or
Yeah, from
exactly
1,000. And in fact,
1,000?
yeah, someone should just write the code from beginning. So how do we go
Select
about
from
that?
others.
Select from
I know
others.
asterisk.
Okay, that selects everything. Select
Yeah, select
asterisk
everything from
from
others.
others
Where
where
put the column in front of others to complete the column.
where columns. Okay, this.
Yeah. Where
Okay, I'm coming. Let me meet this person. I'm coming. Who is this person? It's now. So let's go on. Sorry. Please, if your mic is unmuted and you want to talk, just mute it. So where was?
So it's the same person who is giving you the statement
Okay.
where the background noise
Okay.
is coming. Yeah, it's the same person.
Okay. Okay. So the person can be sorry. So where total amount is there, or maybe another person could just carry on.
Yeah, how much exactly are we looking at here?
Yeah,
greater
we are
or
looking at
equal to
so greater or equal to
1,000.
1,000. Yeah. So that's supposed to be correct, but when you're writing a select statement, it's until you're done that you use this. So it's wrong with that. You can leave it and it goes, but just get in that habit. So this tells us go and select everything from others where total amount is greater than. So you see all the total amounts here are greater or equal to 1,000. This one is 1,050 naira. We don't have any value less than 1,000. So that's what where does for us.
Excuse me, sir. What
Okay.
if we need to filter two columns? Can you do that?
You can do that.
Mm.
You want to filter based on two conditions.
Yes, two conditions. Yeah, status and amount.
Okay, so want to so which status do you want us to filter?
Can take shipped.
Okay, so we want to pick all those ones that are shipped and they are greater than 1,000, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
we just use that keyword, and but we are going to say and status equals shipped. So this is going to return only. Okay, let's run that and see what. But I think it's going to return 2 from what we have. So we have two values. Both of them are both shifts and they are bigger than this. But once you
Okay.
start getting into more than more
Okay,
than
okay.
two conditions,
Yeah.
the idea of that is where you now begin to think of that open and close brackets. So here we've been able to filter out those ones that are shipped who bought goods worth more than or equal to 1,000. So we only have 1, 2, and 13,500. Both of them are shipped. This is what we had before. So if you look at it, we see we only had 2 here, and these are the 2 that qualified. All right, so let's go into the other clause. So now we've been able, I can bring it down so we'll
So,
be seeing how we are
sorry,
doing.
one more, sir. Now that
Okay,
we
okay.
have a user ID like
Hmm.
6 in 3
Yeah,
places, can we filter with user ID also, where the user
of
ID is
course.
6, so that you can use
That
the parentheses?
you are getting exactly what. Okay, you just want me to use that parenthesis.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So that's just tell me how to do it. You already know how to do it.
I don't know. That's why I asked.
Do you want us to do it? Now look at it. You have to think of what you want. Do you want us to do those ones whose user ID are 6 and the other status is shipped and the amount is greater than 1,000, or you want all? Because now I can say get me those ones that are bigger than 1,000 or the ones that are delivered. So the condition could be or and this is where that thing you're looking for is beginning to come in. Yes, sir. So it depends on what you want. You can join so many conditions. You can have so many of them. But as we go on, my interest is just to introduce what this does. So let's say and shift. Let's say or shift. This is greater than, let's say we want to get the ones whose total amounts are greater than 1,000 and shift or. So once we now want to have that or, but think about it very well what you want. Because what you want informs or. Okay, no, I got it wrong. The open bracket is supposed to come here. So what we are doing is we are tying these two conditions. So these two conditions are going to be executed. We could form a truth table for this to give you an idea of what we are doing. But look at it. Let's not complicate it further. So we are going to do and for this. Whatever we get, the result of these two operations are going to be carried separately. Then we all it with this. These AND operations, because we have grouped them together, we have formed a group of conditions. So this and this are grouped together. So they will be executed. The results will now be a single result. The result will be a single output that we all with this. So we are going to say or user ID. Okay, it was user ID, right?
Yes.
User ID is equals 6.
It's 1 to 6.
So this is going to give us a result depending on if any stuff qualified. If it doesn't qualify, it's going to give us an empty space. Now, do you know why we are having some of this? Look at it. We have some whose user ID is 3,
Mm.
but they are there. Why are we not having just Because maybe the way you think, we are supposed to just have only the ones that have 6.
Yes.
You know why we are having that? That's why I told you to be very careful when it comes to this.
Yeah,
This is
because one of the,
evaluated.
yeah.
Yeah. These two in brackets are evaluated first, then the result is now odd with this. So it's either anything that its total amount is greater than 1,000 and it is shipped is valid, whether the user ID is 6 or not. So this 3 is shipped, its total amount is greater than 1, 2. This no, okay, then this other, the only 6 qualify. So this one, the 3 meets up with this our condition. That's the condition that total amount is greater than 1,000 and status is shipped. So this 3 qualifies for that. Do you get it? So it's either you qualify for this condition, this one's in brackets, or your user ID is this. So even if the user ID is 6 and the value is not greater than 1,000, I wish we had something like that. We can quickly add that and run that query. We can quickly go to where we added our value and add a user ID, another for user ID 6, which will be less than. Where do we have that? So someone should remind me. So that's going to qualify, but let's not go there because I know maybe others are not following. Or do you yourself, do you follow why, do you understand why we have 3 and
What
6
is
here?
the maximum
Oh, you
command we can
understand?
have in a line?
Like, I don't understand.
And like here now we have equal to, greater than, and, or I mean, what is the maximum number of commands that we,
There's there's no maximum. The
or it
maximum
depends
is
on what we need?
what you want. Yeah. There's no maximum. There's no minimum too. But there's a way of making, because let's say we want to, let me give you an instance where we can run into a very big problem. If we want to see all the values, let's say we are following the other date and maybe enough transactions have been done. So we now have transaction for like 2 years. And I want to capture only the transactions that are done between January 1st and December 31st. So now using, or you are going to use, if you're writing your condition, you're going to write where dates, other dates is equal to January 1st, or other dates is equal to January 2nd, or other dates equal to January 3rd, up to you're going to have, or up to 365 or 366 days. So that's where we now start bringing ranges. So we are, as we move on, my interest is not to, but I just want you to get what this does. Do you get what this is doing for us?
Yeah, it's very clear. Yeah,
So we can
yeah,
even
very clear.
remove this. Yeah. We can even remove this and just have where user ID. So with this now, this query is only going to return values for user ID 6. So all the transactions user ID 6
Okay.
have done will be returned. Yeah. So that's what we do for us. Let's not drag it. We are coming back to do that once we start our analysis, but get the basic concept. Let others also get it. Those conditionals are what is going to form data analysis proper. So now I told you where is like your filter. The next keyword we have is what other keyword do we have? We have group by. Group by. You can use a capital letter to for them. So what group by do is that it gets some related values and group them together. But whenever you start using group by, you have to be careful because group by always come when you start using what we call aggregate functions. Aggregate functions, like now, I'm coming, let me show you something. You get this, just go back, we can also rewatch the videos or you get it. So let's say select counts. So count is now going to count stuffs. Let's say count asterisk and count asterisk and status. This is part of column expressions from others. Now we are going to bring a group by. So if we do this, let me see, this is going to return some result sets, but let me just give this a name because it will come. So count asterisk as a
Sorry, why
yeah,
is the count coming before the asterisk?
is a function. So this is going to give us is a function. We'll get to that. Okay, so now this is what I wanted to explain to you. That whenever you're going to bring group by, you're going to deal with what we call aggregate function. So aggregate function is when you are bringing columns together, column values together, and doing what? Getting getting a unique number that identifies those aggregate. Like if you don't, it can be average, it can be maximum, it can be the count. So whenever you're bringing that group by, for us to bring in that group by, if we bring in the concept of group by, it's going to make this correct. Sorry. So when we do group by, maybe we'll get it when we start toss. This should run. So now, you see, we have to cancel the, maybe we should bring the other one first. I want to count, already we are, with this now, we are already doing frequency. We want to see the frequency of select, okay, so this shouldn't be there. Okay, so this is correct now. I want to have a status and the number of occurrence. So with this now, we have that cancelled occurred twice, or maybe we can have it the other way around, any way you want to have it. So the frequency of cancelled in our transaction is 2. The frequency of delivered this thing is 3. The frequency of pending is 5. So we have 5 pending this thing. We have 2 shipped. So whenever you're bringing group by, what group by does is it groups related values together. I know that did not sync. Let me do this again. Let's do count asterisk, sorry. Let's do select asterisk. Select asterisk. Select asterisk. I'm commenting this out, and I'm also commenting this out. You know, we have a very small data set, the one we created. If we select this now, we have these all lumped together. We have other this. Now I want to count how many orders have been delivered, how many orders are shipped, how many are pending, how many are cancelled, how many are shipped, how many are delivered. So this is where, if we want to count it manually, because we have 12 entries here, but we can have 12 million entries, billions of entries, and what we just want to group them according to this. So you can't inspect that. What you do is to write a query that will pull that record for you. So with group by, we group things, related things together. Like when we grouped it, it now counted, because the count is counting how many columns qualify. It counted delivered for us, it counted shipped for us, pending for us, cancelled for us, shipped, and all of that. So with that our query, let me go back to that. Okay. With what we wrote, group by status, I think it was like this. This gives us all those things. We saw we had so many pending. So we have 5 pending. We have 2 shipped. We have 2 cancelled from our orders. We'll
Please.
get it if we don't get it now. Okay. Yeah. Someone wanted to ask something.
Yeah, please. What does the underscore represent?
The underscore, we explained it last class.
Yeah.
That when we are talking about naming conventions, we said we cannot do, this is not valid. This is also not valid. This will return an error. We already have an error that it doesn't understand what's happening. So if we want to do this, it's either we write like this, For our own sake, it's called naming convention. For our own sake, it's either we write like this. I don't. We've talked about it. Maybe just watch the other video, or we use because the other one we wrote is not valid. If you want to disobey, we can just use this in order to disobey. So with this now, we are allowed to disobey and have that. So that's what it represents. It doesn't represent anything. It's just a way of we making it disobey. It's called by select case. It's just a way of naming our column. Yeah. Someone wanted to ask another question. So the other stuff we have is what we call order by.
Yes, sorry, before we continue, you gave us the order of the command. So, this counts is just like a foreign command before. So that is just according to what you said from select from group by where others stuff. But count now you say it's also a command, but it comes before the order you gave to us. So
No, I gave you how many of them? I said the clauses. I told you we are going to extend each of these clauses over time, and I want you to get this because we are going to be extending them in next class. We extend them and make some beautiful things out of each of these clauses. It's not just about the standard clauses. One is grouped by. Just think of it this way: we have select. We have select. Let me. We have select. Sorry. So we have select. Next we have from. Next we have where. The other must be preserved. Next we have what? Group by. We can use small letters, but I don't do that. They can use order by. So these are the standard. We can also use limit. But in SQL Server, they don't use limit. What they use is they use stop. We are coming back to that stop. So these are the standard clauses for the select statements. Each of them, like this select, we can select. You see, we brought n as into select. It's not one of those standards. In from, we are going to bring join. We are even going to bring a subqueries into this from. In this way, we are going to bring subqueries too. We are going to bring having, but that having is attached to this where. So I don't want to make it one of the standard because it's attached. It's always attached to that where. This group by we have descending and no, not descending. Is in the order by that we have descending and ascending. Those are also keywords, but the standard keywords are these three. And if you must, they must not all appear in every select statement. Like in the case of this, we only have three of them, 1, 2, 3. But the order is preserved. We cannot have group by before from. We cannot have from after group by. We cannot have select below them. And now the tricky thing is SQL doesn't execute them the way we see them. It's not executed line after line. So when we start rewriting, renaming columns and all those things, writing subqueries, I'll show you how SQL executes them. The order we are listing them is not the order it's executed. The first listing the first command that is always executed is this from. It's first of you. It's first of if you write it, it's going to say the first thing that is going to happen. That's why when we don't specify our from, you see that this place is always red because it doesn't. If I comment out this, everything becomes red. But once we have from, so this our select happens as is the number 4 thing to be executed. So once we have this, all these columns becomes red. That's the first thing that is executed. So we'll go into the execution order. I wanted us to go into it today, but and I know green we could go. So now I know the group by is kind of still confusing us. We will come back to it maybe in other classes. But let's talk about order by. Order by is just a way of ordering things in ascending order or descending order. So like what we already have, We can also equip it with order by. We already have this. Let's have this. So this gives us this. So let's say we want to, things appear anyhow. We have 2, 3. Want to now group them according to the number of transactions. We can now say finally, please always remove that semicolon if you want to include more this thing. So we can say order by the column name. So now order by is always the last command to be executed. If I say order by, what am I going to say order by? I'm going to say order by number of transactions. Why? Because number of transactions is now available to us. I told you whenever we use this as, it overrides this. But you might not be, you can't use this order by in group. You can't use it in grouping because of, but you get to understand that when I explain the order at which they executed. So the select appears number 4, that's the 4th one or the 5th one if you group it otherwise. So after this one is executed, this our renaming, this line is now available to order by. So if we run this, arrange this in ascending order. That means 2 comes first, 2 comes again, 3 before 5. So we are going to execute this and have that stuff ordered. So order by does what? 2, 2, 3, 5. We might stop here.
Excuse me, if you want to do it in descending order, how's it going to look like?
It's going
Please,
to
I'm
look
not
like
getting
this.
it again.
I know, that's why we'll stop here. So the default value is always ascending. Whether if you don't specify ascending, it does it in ascending order. But if you want it otherwise, you now specify descending. So this could mean to us as if we want it to remain the way we wanted it, we can do this and have the results we had earlier. Read up. You can research, read up, also go through the video because our next class will build on this. Our next class is going to talk about sets, where we're going to touching different tables. What I think is we should just build more of this our table. This our table, we can build it more and use it to do all the things we are doing. I think it's simple enough for us to understand everything we are doing. When we get to that larger distance, it used to confuse us. So now we've been able to introduce all the standard clauses. If you're able to understand these standard clauses, we will be extending them in our next class.
Yeah, I understand the order, but to use it in an interwoven manner, so that is just where it's confusing.
Let's ask our questions so that we end the class. So with this now, if we want to now go and plot our graph in Excel, we've done an analysis, so we've already arranged them according to, we already have, let's say, we want to know the number of transactions that are cancelled, number of transactions that are achieved. The way we had our, if we use the way we had our this thing, it's not giving us some of those insights easily. But with this now, I think what we have now is data arranged. This is our raw data. And what we have here is our this thing that we have. So we can plot data of a number of transactions against the status. So we say status had to, we can do whether graph or histogram or pictogram, whatever. We can now take maybe pie chart of all of this and easily get it. So it's easier. We've done small analysis without knowing we are doing it. Do we all understand what all these clauses are doing? Select, from, order by, group by, and where.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
I think we can round up for today. The day is fast spent, except if anyone has a question.
Yeah. Where we likely have questions is in our group by. I know that did not click, right?
Okay, sir. If there is no question, I think you can just give us an assignment that includes some of those statements that you think we need to study in the next class. So we don't need to get it right, but let's just brainstorm on it so that by the time we come for the next class, we have what we are building on.
Okay. Let's keep using the database we built ourselves. On that database, add more entries to the other table. You can also add more users, but we can just leave it at 6. Add more entries to the other table. Let's have up to at least 30 entries there using our insert statements. Add them at random. Don't think about, just add them without thinking about this should be 6, this should be 7. Just add. Now, when you're done adding, do this kind of analysis we did. The analysis we did is what? Depending on status, we have 4 status. So write a SQL query that will give us the number of transactions that were cancelled, number of transactions that were shipped, number of orders that were delivered, number of orders that are still pending. So this will require you to use discounts is a function. It will require you to use discounts as a function. It will require you to use this as, which is a way of renaming our table. Then also order them in descending order. Don't order them in ascending order, order them in descending order. So it will require you to do that ordering. In fact, this will make you touch almost all of the clauses we have. Then after doing that, now write another query that will give us, just write a query that will give us the ones that are cancelled, the others that are cancelled, whose order value is bigger than 1,000. We want to know why they canceled the orders. That money is kind of big for us to forgo. So one is to get exactly what I got here.
Sir, sorry to bring you back. These are the first line, select current, then the status at the first line. So why do we have the status at the, sorry to bring you back.
Okay, why we have it is that we can have it here too. There's no hard rule. Anything goes as long as you know what you're doing. It's just a way of making us, just a way of making this look beautiful. So we can have it anywhere. We can even bring this down too. This is still valid. So however you write your own is fine, but just make sure it's beautiful. It's still valid.
Okay.
Yeah, you people should try and do it. And I don't know, those people that didn't attend today's class, encourage them to also read up if they want to continue with our class. Because if they don't, if they have missed the other class and missed this other one, whatever we'll be doing from subsequent classes will look esoteric to them. They either ask plenty questions or it will now make them just be there for being sake. They are building on each other. They are building on each other. So let's encourage if others, they should just read up, study what we are doing.
Just trying to, they will work on the assignment there.
Please work on the assignments. You can do more if you have time. I don't know if we have class on Saturday.
I don't know. Sunday might be better because people will be on holiday.
If we do it on Sunday, then doing it on Monday again, we now. So if we do Saturday, so we can do on Monday. The hard part is this SQL. Once we conquer SQL, we go into Excel. Excel won't be that difficult for us. And most times we pull up, like now, we already have what we can feed Excel that will easily make it, will just make it so easy for us to plot whatever we are plotting.
Okay, but sir, please, when we are starting it, please do revision on this particular one, just from this count and the next.
All right, we'll do that. And what I can also do is whenever I have time, I'll record a video talking about a few of them and post in the platform
Thanks so much.
on the group chat. Yeah,
All
and
right.
if you have a problem, don't wait until we have the next class before you ask them. You can
Okay.
always chat me privately or post it on the group. Some people understand this, and we have other bosses around. We have other persons who are very good in this. Some
All right,
other
sir.
bosses in the group. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's call it a day then, since we
Thank
don't
you
have
so
more
much,
questions.
sir.
Thanks so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. God bless you, sir.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Yes.